everybody, it's Kelly from Cards by Christine here with you for Paper Pumpkin, December 2025. We have the Watercolor in Blooms kit in front of us today, ready to crack it open and go on an adventure with you today. So, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it if you could take an opportunity to like, share, comment, and engage in this content in any way that it works for you. We surely do appreciate it. And thank you for joining us. Your time is your greatest resource, and we appreciate you being here. So, I'm a little flat today. We had a late night of making cards last night, with a long day of making cards the day before. So we will see how this alternative comes together today, because my brain don't have a lot left in the tank, but we'll see. Good morning to Feline, Crazy Cat Lady, which I can never remember what your name is, so sorry about that. Linda, Mary, and thank you all so much for being here and liking, commenting, sharing, and all of that good stuff. So, good morning. Oh man, so let's see what we have. This kit is special because this is the first kit of the series for a lot of you. We just had a cyber sale for Paper Pumpkin that was a sale on prepaid codes, and a lot of people signed up and got this as their first kit. So if Paper Pumpkin is new to you, welcome. We are so glad that you are here. Cheryl. Someday I might remember that. Who knows? We are so glad that you are here. We are about to have a great time. I get to make 3 different card designs, and then we will pull together an alternative as well. Good morning, Rosalind. Thank you so much for joining us. Ooh, pretty. Okay. Oh, wow. I love that element on the envelopes. That's cool. Okay, so let's crack it open and see what we've got here. So the kit makes 3 each of 3 card designs. Of course, it does have the coordinating envelopes with it as well. I don't think I opened it far enough. There we go. Just rip her open. Okay, so we have copper adhesive backed sequins in 2 different sizes. We also have dimensionals. Okay. Stamps, we'll get to those in just a minute here. Tear and tape. Here are our envelopes. So nothing on the back, but this beautiful strip along the side. Okay. All right, then I need to see what we're doing. Oh, here we go. Dear friend, thank you, miss you so much. You make me feel loved. The little things you do for me mean so much. Then we have a couple of pieces of foliage artwork. So that's what we have in our stamp set this month. Now we will organize the pieces. So green, this is dark, Secret Sea, and ooh, I'll get to the colors in a second, but I'm not quite sure here what that greenish color is. It's very, very rich. I likely will not be punching these out yet because I like to stamp before I distribute. Pull them off to the side. Got some floral elements. Pull those off as well. We're just going to get the card bases out at first. Vellum! You guys, I love vellum. Chris is learning the things that I do on a routine and repetitive basis, starting first with sponging. And she's like, we can't sponge on every card. Like, are you sure? I think we can. It's been fun. Okay, then this giant oval is going on the dark card. And then the small rectangle. So yes, I was suggesting vellum. I don't think we ended up using vellum in any places, but I suggested it several times. We tried it. Sometimes it worked, but sometimes it didn't. And ultimately it just oftentimes was not used. Oh, man. Okay, so here we have that very orangey copper. I mean, I understand that copper does have an orange feel to it, but this is very rich orange nature to it. Let's see here. These are coming out the easiest, so we'll just get those out of the way right away. These very fine detail laser elements, sometimes you cannot punch them all at the same time. I mean, correction, you always can punch them all out. It just depends on whether you want to risk tearing off some of the elements. More perfectly lined up, the better. Hello, Connie. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. All right, now that we have those pieces distributed, now let's go ahead and get some of the zhuzhi things. So, I'm very curious what we've got for colors. This is an awesome color palette. I usually am not into green. Green is what I typically say is my least favorite color, but man, the rich vibrancy. Thank you, Linda. I try really hard not to tear anything, but also not to give in and just punch them out one at a time. Yeah, green is just typically not my thing, but the green and blue mixture here, very tastefully designed. I am a fan. Also, I love watercolor. I love watercoloring, and I love the look and aesthetic of watercolor, so that might also be why I'm digging it. Okay, so over here on the stripes card, we've got that piece with the like grass sticking up. And then it looks like that might be the smallest flower. Okay, then last but certainly not least, the blue gradient. That seems to have, well, it's got the printed piece that I didn't put out. And then it seems to have the medium white flower with these little leafy things. I don't know what they are. Okay. I think that takes care of all the pieces. Then I will discover what we all need to stamp. Okay, so obviously we have to stamp the sentiment pieces, and then yeah, I was gonna say, I thought I could see some stamping of the leafy things. Okay, let's get started on that. Now, how I like to do paper pumpkin is I enjoy figuring out what pieces go with what cards. I like doing that first. Then I like to do all of the stamping, and then I like to move into assembly. Now, that being said, in paper pumpkin class, I do only make one of each of the cards. I like to stamp them all at the same time, though. I think, you know, I'm notorious for wanting to make alternatives, but oftentimes the stamping doesn't necessarily change, although that could be false. I mean, like this piece being already stamped might make it less useful. Obviously, I could cut it down the middle. So yeah, I guess I'm trying to decide in the moment with a brain that's very foggy whether or not I want to stamp it all. In the meantime, we've got Night of Navy and our block coming in hot. So let's, you know what? Maybe I'm just going to stamp one. Why not? Also, I will go ahead and condition all of my stamps while they're all together, hanging out. Okay, wow, that is a brick. Any better luck with this one? I don't know about it. No. Uh-oh. All right, I will have to rehydrate those on another day. But for the time being, we'll stick with this. Okay, so let's get our stamps taken care of. Good morning, Sean. My boyfriend. You gonna make some cards with me? So, when you condition your stamps, they make a much cleaner stamped image. Typically, I usually describe this as stickiness. So, when you use a brand new photopolymer stamp, the ink doesn't usually adhere to the stamp super well, and then it leaves your stamped image splotchy. So if you put your stamp on the chamois, then use a sand eraser to kind of scuff up the surface, and then you need to bring it back on the chamois to get those little sand granules off. That helps immensely in your stamps having a nice image right off the bat. So, pro tip. Then we will bring in our leafy foliage and do some stamping. I do think I am just going to stamp the one. Who knows what alternative-y fun type things we can do. Speaking of which, can you tell the brain's starting to come to life now? Speaking of which, Chris and I are going to have an add-on class. Not quite sure of all of the details quite yet, but basically acknowledging that there's a bunch of new people to Paper Pumpkin at this point in time, and acknowledging that everybody started out with this kit. So that was one of the stipulations of the promo, was that the first kit had to be this kit. You couldn't skip. Whereas now that you're into the Paper Pumpkin program, you know, if you get a sneak peek or decide that, you know, typically the next month, I think, typically is Valentine's projects, and maybe Valentine's isn't your thing, or, you know, so on and so forth. There's any number of reasons why you would maybe choose to not want... Whoa. Bad job. Why you might want to skip, or why you might not want a specific kit. Well, anyways, if that is the case, you can skip or pause your subscription. All right, now, moment of truth. Can we fix that up? So, we are going to offer a Paper Pumpkin class, and the details are definitely still in the works, so we don't necessarily know what you're going to be making. It's some level of alternatives, some level of unique things with the kit. So stay tuned for that, but you might just want to participate. I'm very excited. I have a ton of awesome ideas about how I'm going to kind of lean into the Paper Pumpkin and kits space with some unique offerings. So hopefully going to lean into that in 2026. That's kind of one of my, not resolutions, but one of my thoughts for the year. So I'm very excited to spend some time figuring that out. Oh, haha. Over here, we need our square, Miss You and So Much. And then that is all of the stamping for this card. Good morning, Mary and Mimi. Yeah, that worked out not half bad, Linda. So I have the Stampin' Right marker set, which I know is not something that Stampin' Up! Sells anymore, but I think a blend could have worked quite well as well. Also, you could hover over and try to restamp. That likely would be the hardest way to achieve that, but there's always a way to fix it. And to be perfectly honest, that's kind of just some background, I don't want to say noise, but it's not as important as, say, I had not done a good job stamping the sentiment. Well, that would have been a little bit bigger of an issue, but alas, we can always figure it out. So, Miss You, we're going to center that left to right more towards the top than bottom because we have to put so much beneath it. Okay. Stamping with photopolymer stamps is my favorite. I remember when my mom and I started getting into stamping back many, many moons ago when Chris was having early parties and such. She had inquired about photopolymer stamps because it was the new rave, and all of Stampin' Up! Stamps were red rubber, and it was implied that that was not something that Stampin' Up! Was ever going to get into. So, of course, what one person says is definitely not indicative of future forecasting for a large company. But I will always remember that. I will always remember that conversation. I love photopolymer stamps. It makes things like this so much easier to be able to see exactly what you're stamping and exactly where you're stamping. So, miss you so much. That takes care of all of the stamping for this first card. Then we will move on to stamping for card number 2, which, if I do recall, is the dark one. Thank you. Then the little things you do for me mean so much, and a couple little pieces of foliage, all on this beautiful ornate oval. So not only is the laser element in the leaves just oh so pretty, but then we've got the copper, and I love these little like pinprick dots around the oval. It's the little details that really, really make for a stunning card. So that piece is being used, but it's not being stamped on, which is great. It's just going to be a white oval on top of there, but with how beautifully ornate that piece is, it'd be very sad if you accidentally stamped it wrong or ruined it. So I think that's why, more than anything, even, you know, to have an additional layer is cool and great, but I think more than anything, it's just to give you a little peace of mind that not only do you have an extra, but you can flip it over if you accidentally make a mistake. So I'm going to start with the larger piece of text to kind of ground that in the middle. Then I'll put the thank you on top of it and the little foliage on the side. It is atypical. See, look at that. I think that is, oh, is that straight? I think that's falling off the cliff, as they might say. I think it's atypical to have so much text on the outside of a card, but I really love it. I think it's great, especially on a thank you card, to have such a nice sentiment on the outside is really great. Sounds great, Mimi. We will keep you in on that. And as soon as we get through some design that we are currently working on, we will definitely get to what that is going to look like and sound like. So yes, we will keep you in the loop. You'll definitely be hearing more about it soon too. So, okay. The little things you do mean so much. So that's the first stamp. Yes, so the cards that we designed, gangbusters, the last 2 days. And then Chris also worked with Jay Shante and Diane Bogenhagen. There have been cards coming out of the studio just left and right. Most of them are for, well, obviously all of the January classes, but then also we are working on the Autumn Creative Escape, Winter Creative Escape, and then we also have Paper Palooza, which is next on the docket. So very heavy in card designing right now, but then yes, we will come around to this when we have a moment of opportunity. But the great thing about this is it's not anything that needs to be timely. These cards are quite universal, and it's not like, you know, we're making Christmas cards or Valentine's Day cards or things that have a certain time frame. That would put a lot more pressure and really make it matter when they were made. So yeah, we get a little bit of breathing room on that idea, but loved the concept and was very excited to dive into it. And like I said, I do think it's going to be a great kind of catapult or a launching into the ideas that I have for my own paper pumpkin type of quote unquote business that I'm really looking forward to implementing. I do have some plans to be working on those ideas over the Christmas break. I don't think I'll have anything to offer yet, but I'm definitely going to get the ideas developed so that I can start talking about it and getting you guys excited and interested. Okay, so then we're just putting some foliage on the bottom here. I am struggling to get these stamps on perfectly. Now, that little bit of like rounding on the bottom, it looks like two things. It looks like this one maybe is up and tucked onto the M of the mean a little higher and tighter, which maybe then draws this back and down a little bit. But I don't know that it necessarily, quote unquote, matters. Basically, this is just a little texture that's going to get covered up by some printed elements. That being said, it doesn't get completely covered up, so I mean, it is still visible, but the exact placement, actually, I still need that. The exact placement does not necessarily matter. Okay, then, last but certainly not least, we are moving on to this strip, and that is going to say, "Dear friend, you make me feel loved." Then we're also kind of stamping a little bit of texture onto the face. So let's get the sentiments knocked out first. Now you see that in, oh, I was like, what happened here? That was my crooked one. In these instances, we're using two stamps in the exact same place, but you don't get to put them both on the block at the same time. Yes, it would be a little easier, but there's kind of some padding around the stamps to kind of ramp it up to give it some extra cushion, per se, so that you can stamp. I don't know any better way to say that. So that being said, haha, I'll get to that in a second. That being said, you can't mount them. They can't get close enough in most instances. This one might work, but I don't want to risk it. So I'm going to start by stamping the second set of words first, the "You make me feel loved." I think it'll be easier to center that on the bottom and then put the "dear friend" around it. I could be wrong, but that's my guess. Ooh, that was a very nice stamped, crisp image. Okay, get that cleaned off. Then we'll move to the "thank you," which now, instead of having to center it on that big long length, I kind of just need to center it over the top of the "You make me feel loved." Okay, I like that. I think that turned out very nice. Then we are going to grab just this tiny little piece, and this is extremely satisfying. So, because the navy is such a dark color and because it's highly pigmented, something in the chemical makeup of these inks, when you use it, even just once, like we haven't overused and abused the stamp set, it kind of like dyes it pinkish. Well, I love the fact that we used every single one of the stamps in this stamp set. which is evidenced by the pink dye. That was what I was trying to get at in the very tired roundabout way that I'm speaking today. But that's kind of fun and cool. Like, how many stamp sets do you have that either A, never get used? Don't be afraid to admit it. We all do. Or B, you know, you use your favorite one or two and then the rest of them sit there and never get used. So to me, it's very satisfying that we have used every stamp. Yay! Okay, then we're just going to take that little center of the flower piece and stamp that in 2 places on here. And now we have officially finished with our stamping. Yay! Okay, I'll clean this up, get all of the ink supplies out of our way. Well, there's a clear piece somewhere, and it's invisible, so there's a fat chance I'm gonna be able to find it. So it'll surface later. Okay. Wow. Are we off to the races now? Last but not least, okay, so the kit components, I said earlier that we've got the supplies to make 3 each of 3 card designs. So that's here. So kit contains supplies for 9 cards and 9 envelopes, but then our coordinating Stampin' Up! Colors. We have Garden Green, Night of Navy, Pretty Peacock, Secret Sea, and Shaded Spruce. Also, we do have bronze foil elements as well. So beautiful color scheme. Likely we'll touch on this towards the end when we are working towards our alternative, but there is a quarterly add-on die kit. This is exclusive just to Paper Pumpkin subscribers. I told you I would find the clear sheet. We've used it a number of times already in the past few months because we are on the last month of the quarter. But it is called the Abundant Joy Dies. We have a tag, the word joy, and then a bunch of little foliage pieces here that coordinate. So basically, the tag was the coordinating element to October. The joy was the coordinating element to November, and then these pieces coordinate. You can see they definitely go with the imagery for this watercolor kit. Now, all of the elements are, though, universal, but yes, we'll keep this on our radar to come back to when we are talking alternative. Okay. It's time to start making some cards. The first bit of our instructions are just the lay flats of all of the different elements. We walked through that all already, and we have that on our left-hand side here. So let's get to the inside, where we are starting with our striped card. Going to take one of each of the pieces. Okay. Start first. The best way to start making a card is to get your card base ready. So I like to, no questions asked, always start by burnishing my card base. It feels like an easy step in the right direction. Our gradient is going blue to green, so the blue is going to be on top. We have the stamping done. Those of you that have been here before know that I am not necessarily a fan of a non-traditional adhesives. So like, I love tear and tape. It definitely has a role, but not for this capacity. I feel like it's not the right adhesive for this, I don't know, like task, if that's the way to say it. So in this instance, I likely will go ahead and use liquid glue. Though that being said, vellum can be tricky. So I think I'm going to walk back what I just said, because vellum does curl and liquid glue, once you know, is a liquid. So the liquid in the glue kind of gives that curling. It really accentuates the curling. So I am going to use tear and tape just today. Typically, normally I would, you know, want to use liquid glue, but because we are adhering this to vellum, I will make an exception. Okay, so tear and tape along the back here. Smidgen of a little extra, we'll just put that down. Okay, then this piece of vellum, it's basically just gonna fill in inside of these leaves here. So we want to line it up on the top here. Another reason why I like the non-committal nature of liquid glue, because I can shimmy it once I have it like started to be stuck. I can still shimmy it around in case I misplaced it a little bit. That's okay. Okay, so we've got that down. Then we are going to put some tear and tape on the back of the vellum. Again, I am going to stick with tear and tape here because we are still adhering with the vellum. Then we're going to bring in some dimensionals to start layering. I am not yet going to tear the backing off of this tear and tape. I don't want it to get stuck to everything. Okay, so that's gonna go here. Then we have Miss You. That is going to have oh no, my friends. This is a rectangle. Miss You. So much. Well, would you look at that? So first of all, just trying to figure out how this goes in here. You very, very minimally see the stamping. Now, yes, I probably could have brought it up some, but I thought it looked like it was dropped down pretty far. So I stamped the tip of the leaf down 1 1/8, a little less than 1 1/8. I do believe at this point that we would want that to be up higher, more in the 7/8 vicinity maybe, even maybe so high as 3/4 of an inch. So I think we want to address that. No changing it now. It is what it is. But we do need to address this because this just doesn't fit. Now in this instance, I believe there's nothing wrong with trimming this down left to right. However, I do think, because then it won't be quite as long either, and well, because this is down so far, having less height here would be okay. So that is what I'm going to do. I am just going to trim a little bit off the left and right hand sides. But for future reference, Miss You So Much is a rectangle that is 1 7/8 inch wide by 2 1/8 inch tall. So it is not a square, it is a rectangle that clearly I did the wrong way. So let's find a little trimmer here and fix that. So at this point then I am just going to have a square. So a little different, but it will be fine. And I trimmed just a smidgen too much, so let's trim that down too. Okay. Nothing like problem solving, left and right. Okay, then we are going to bring in our dimensionals. We are going to put a dimensional on the back of the flower. There is one dimensional on the back of this. I am going to definitely change that up. I'm going to put a dimensional in the middle and then take one, cut it in half, and put a small piece over here and a small piece over here. I just don't like things falling apart. While I'm on a roll, I am just going to use the tear and tape on a roll. Ha ha ha. Because I'm not quite understanding exactly how this is coming together yet. And then we're going to flip over our not square. That is a square just for me. And I'm going to put dimensionals. It's a trifecta of dimensionals, but I'm going to do 4. I don't quite understand why we wouldn't put dimensionals around the whole thing, but who knows? So now I guess my next question is this sitting on top of here, or is it going to tuck under? Because it's not on dimensionals. I guess I'm going to stick this piece down first and then hover the Miss You over the top of it. I don't think that this is made to be like a crown, but I don't know. Okay, so I want I guess most importantly is that this is centered left to right between the copper bar. What sneaks out the side, like, okay, it does not show much of this foliage. Those could and should have been stamped more in here-ish. I don't necessarily have a great tip for you on how to do that. I guess before you stamp it, you might want to hover this piece over the top just to get an idea of where that stamped image needs to go. Or also don't worry and get too worked up about it, because it doesn't really matter. It's just, it is a very small detail. And it's just to add a little bit of like visual texture. So I guess I'm going to stick that down. A little bit of tension here. This dimensional in the middle probably could go up just a smidge. Well, then next I am going to stick down the sentiment. Now this I'm going to hover over the top. Okay. And then we have the flower. That is going to go right in here. When I noticed that there are a bunch of like adhesion points, like frayed pieces from where it was on the carrier sheet, I do like to trim them if they're very obvious. It just helps the kit make it look a lot less like it was made from a kit. So that is going to go right there. And then we have our copper sequins, adhesive back sequins. And for that, we are going to put one large one in here, and then two small ones, one here and one here. Okay, that is going to stay now because that adhesive is stuck in place. I do want to try to move that. Okay, so I learned a few things, you guys, and that would be, first of all, that we definitely want to stamp it less far down because it does appear as though this is very bottom heavy. So just something to know, I do think it is very beautiful. That's why I do this with you. So obviously, final step, take the tear and tape off and get this actually on your card. Again. We have tear and tape, so there's no wiggle. So I have to convince myself that it's straight and not worry about it. All right, there you go. Card number 1. I think I'm going to bring my Stella in and Stella, ooh, okay. Oh man, Stella needs some help. I don't even know if this is help. I don't think this is helpable. Helpable is not a word. Let's see if I have a new one. We might not. Stella. Okay, I have one more place to look. 1 second, please. We do not appear to have a spare Stella in the house. So, that being said, at this point we call this done and done. But I would, if I had it, I would be putting Stella on the flower And I was thinking of doing it on the leaves as well. So there you have it. Use your imagination to add those elements. Okay, card number 1 is in the books. Moving on to card number 2, which we have the navy and shaded spruce card. Whee! Okay. Step number 1, stamping. Done. Okay. I am going to use liquid glue on this piece because it's paper to paper. Nests in there absolutely perfectly. Okay, then we are going to, this looks like it's just adhered. I'm not going to do that yet, but we will then switch to the tear and tape. Ah, you guys, I got too excited. Step number 1 is always burnish your card base. All right, that is done. Now we will do some tear and tape. Okay. This just hovers over the center. Oh, goodness gracious. It's see-through, so you can't even see it. And it's tear and tape, so you can't move it. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Okay. Oh, no. Take a deep breath. Sorry, I need it right in front of me. I mean, there-ish? Maybe? Now we get tear and tape on here. Okay, very good. Now we are putting on our flower and our foliage. And we are bringing in some dimensionals. Looks like we're putting 2 dimensionals in the middle of this. Definitely appears as though the illustration is using mini dimensionals, and we do not have mini dimensionals, so don't be startled. I think there's no reason that the dimensionals couldn't space out better on there, but we will find out. So this hovers above. I'm going to slow our roll for a second and do some trimming. just clean that up. Okay. Now we're gonna hover this down in this vicinity. And now we are going to bring in our flower that I now will use liquid glue on. I'm glad I did not put that on too early, just because I do believe it's nice to put it where you want it instead of having it stuck on there and then sticking it on and not being able to decide where it fits best. At this point, we are using a small sequin down here, an additional small sequin up here, and then a large sequin down in that vicinity. Again, our Stella would likely go on the large flower and maybe even again on the leaves. I think that would look very nice. All right, I'm telling you, the copper on this is so divine. I know it's always hard to see those holographic elements through the camera, but it's so good. Okay, and last, we have card number 3. So, stamping is done. Whee! Where's my vellum? Step number 1 is always burnish your card base. Too funny, I got too excited last time. Okay. This rate. Oh, okay, okay. So the vellum is going to go behind the copper layer. So we'll use our liquid glue on the sentiment. The sentiment goes nestled perfectly in the copper. I did not trim little thingies off. I probably should have. So now I'm seeing them and not liking them. So because it's liquid glue, I have a couple of seconds give time. The other thing that was bothering me is that it hangs off the edge just ever so slightly. So I'm going to flip that over and trim that down. Okay. Beautiful. Now we can take tear and tape. I don't know what I was grabbing that for. That was way too short. Center that on our piece of vellum. Again, just a little bit too long. Whee. Now we've got dimensionals for this layer. Okay. Flip that bad boy over. Put a tiny little piece of tear and tape by the stems of the foliage. Then that can get tucked up here-ish. Then the flower, which I will put some liquid glue on. Ah! Good golly. Okay, she flew the coop. So now I have some adhesive to clean up. She wanted to tell me where she wanted to be. All right, adhesive eraser to the rescue. I still didn't get it all. It's just a small little piece. There we go. Okay, now the dimensionals can come up. I feel like I don't like the fact that there's not a dimensional behind this, because that is all on the same level. So for funsies, we'll put one on. Oh, good golly. Gotta figure out what we got going on here. Through the help of the other pieces, I just need to know. Okay, so this piece is just a little smaller than the void that we are filling. So that helps me to know that there is going to be a small little white gap. And then the next thing that I discovered is that this piece is printed to look like the piece that it sits on top of, which typically you try to cover up exactly, like if it's an exact mirror image of what it's on top of, you try to put it right on top of it. So I feel like I would have preferred to stick this piece down. So like step 3 over here shows that you're sticking the leaf just kind of blindly on there. Well, if you would go ahead and stick down this dear friend piece and then stick this element in there, I think that would give you a better output because you'd know exactly where you're hovering that over the top of. Now, do you have to do it that way? Absolutely not. But I think I would have preferred to do that. All right, that being said, it is time for some embellishments. So we're putting a large one down here, a small one down there as well, and an additional small one up here. At this point, you can glue it on, and I think, oh, just kidding, this is dimensionals. I think if I had Stella, I would definitely do it on the flower, and maybe even just as a border around the index card. Not sure, but that's, I think, what I would do. I think they're taking notes from me because there is no lack of dimensionals on here. Usually I don't listen to their suggestion on dimensionals because often it's not generous enough for me to feel comfortable with them not falling apart in the mail or, you know, not sagging. Well, 9 dimensionals on here is perfect. Okay, then flip it over and center it. And boom. All right, 3 beautiful cards. Do you have a favorite? I like the last one the best, I think, but I do really like the leaves over on. Okay, I like these two, and I think this one is my favorite. Gotta clean up that adhesive eraser. You got a little bit of a workout. Okay, then we need to think about our alternative. Pressure is on. They are all beautiful. I agree, Linda. Such a nice kit. So I'm thinking about the elements that I can use for the alternative, and I'm right away going to start with our envelope. I bring all these pieces back. I really like that border. So I think the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start deconstructing an envelope and see what I can play with. I like to just skim the edge off, so now it's open. It is mostly open. Oh, come on. There's one little spot in here. Oh, there's a little. Well, once you know. Okay. Then I'll do the same on the left and right. Just open that up. So I like the thought of this. Obviously, it definitely could be at the bottom. That is definite. But I also think it could be a side piece. I feel like this can be garbage, although I could stamp on it if we need a layer. I'm gonna get some colors out here. And that would be Secret Sea. Huh. Okay, well, we also have Shaded Spruce. Not a ton. Pretty Peacock. need to find if there's any. Okay, Night of Navy, but I'm not liking that as much as the... Okay. Well, we don't have any of the dark blue down here. Why am I blanking? Secret Sea. We don't have any Secret Sea down here. So, we are going to have to get creative. There's somewhere I can pull that from. I don't think there is. Uh-oh, you guys, that's not good. Pretty Peacock is a solid contender. I'm thinking about the dies that we have as well. Get those out. I feel like I like the thought of this being on the side. I think I'm going to commit to this card base. Pretty Peacock. I'm going to make it 4 1/4 by 11. So a little different. So we'll score at 5 1/2. And then that piece is going to go over there. Now I need to decide how big that piece is going to be. I like it being all the way to the top and all the way to the bottom. I think that is nice. Maybe we don't, this sounds crazy, but maybe we don't even need some of these dies because we have all of that right there. Maybe are we using the tag? I kind of like that idea. Okay, let's do, I need to go get my die cutting machine. Okay, there is a craftastrophe going on over there. So, what do we have here for cutting? I think okay, so these are for embossing folders, like this. Okay, so let's do, I am going to use this, I think. So one thing that I struggle with sometimes is that basic white tends to have a blue undertone to it. So I mean, it's just a nice bright white. Or, excuse me. Basic white has more of a yellow undertone. And then these envelopes and some of these like printed elements has more of a blue undertone to it. So in instances like this, where I'm using an envelope, I'm going to use another piece of that envelope because it's the same white, instead of introducing basic white, which has more of a yellow tone to it, which is the world's most minor detail that probably doesn't even matter, but sometimes I think it does. Okay, then am I going to do Pretty Peacock or Shaded Spruce? I think I'm going to do Shaded Spruce. I might do both. I don't know. There's no shame in trying something and not using it. Though, the nice thing is, if I try something and I don't like it, you don't need to take the time to try it if you know you don't like it because you saw me do it. Here we go. That's what happened. I was like, where's my other plate? Okay. Move that off to the side for now. Now, I'm aware that that is not going to show up very well, the white. So I think what I'm going to do, I need to figure out what I'm stamping. I like nesting this down here. I definitely want to sponge the edges or accentuate the edges in some way, shape, or form. I feel like I might stamp "Thank you so much." It doesn't, I was gonna say it doesn't fill it up very much, but I could stamp "Thank you," and potentially even "Thank you so much," and then stamp some of the foliage around it. Oh, I might like that. Okay. The next thing that I was thinking about is my Shaded Spruce. I want to trim this down so I can start to see how it all fills So I'm thinking of cutting this at I want to measure before 3.5. 3.5. Where's my little guillotine? Right here. Okay, then I would like to have a little border of shaded spruce. So 3 3/4 by 5.5 is what I'm going to do on that piece. Five and a half, that is correct, right? I think so. Hopefully that's not too big of a border. I can always trim it down if it is. Oh no. Okay, that's okay. I forgot that I hadn't trimmed this down, so I thought I cut the shaded spruce too small. I am going to trim this down. So I had it as 3 3/4. I'm going to take 1/8 of an inch off of that. I'm also now going to cut this down to 5 1/4. Wait, 5.5? 5.5. Now, paper conservation tells me that I could have, didn't know this then because I wasn't planning, I could have die cut this out of this little, I guess you could call it a mat. Okay, 1/8 of an inch might have been just a bit too much to trim off, but it is what it is. To compensate, I'm going to skin just a little bit off of this too. Okay. Now, I believe I'm going to have this, and this, and this, and I want a little bit less on this side and a little bit more on that side. Then I'm going to have this and this. Going to stamp in Pretty Peacock, and I also believe that I'm going to sponge the edges in Pretty Peacock, because obviously it's not standing out on this white on white edge, which I love the white on white. I think that is very classy, but I need it to stand out a little bit. Okay, then this Pretty Peacock, I don't know that I'm going to need that because I'm going to bring Pretty Peacock in with the stamping. So I think I need to get a daughter. I definitely need to get Pretty Peacock. Need to decide. I think I'm going to stamp just thank you. Hello, Holly. Thank you so much for joining us. We are in the midst of quite the alternative. So I've had a lot of different thoughts about these stamped elements. First, I thought I was going to do the smallest one, rounding both of the corners. I changed my mind on that. I think I'm going to stamp this big ferny thing along the top. Then I think I'm going to fill up most of the outside, if not all of it. Commit. I'm going to commit. You guys, I'm having this very bad thing where I'm not hitting all of the stamp down. I know the lack of sleep isn't helping, but dang! What am I doing? Oh, that's... Yes. You have a lot of blocks, you use a lot of blocks, but I don't know why I can't. Okay. Just continuing to circle around and fill it all in. I don't know. Something like that. Now, do I continue by daubering the edges? And I think the answer is going to be yes, because that is just my answer to every problem these days. So for kicks and giggles, why not? It no longer, thank you, Holly, it no longer is going to look like white on white, that's for sure. Now, you guys are going to have the benefit of not experimenting as you go, because I'm going to circle back and re-stamp over the top, which is very dangerous, the thank you in Secret C. I would like to remind you that the only reason that we're doing this is because the thank you was so small. Now granted, I could have chosen any sentiment in any of the stamp sets that we own, but I wanted to use this stamp set. I could have also used the Miss You. Again, that would have had some lack of space that needed to be filled, but not to the same degree. So let's go get Secret C. I love Secret C so much. No, something's falling. Now, I am stuck with a choice. Do I intentionally offset it, knowing that I probably cannot get it exactly on top of the other one? Which that is probably the correct answer. Or do I try? Oh yeah, that was bad. That was bad. That was at a bad angle. Okay. So, I think stamping thank you in Secret C. Okay, I know that I have to fix that. I get that. That's fine. I think stamping thank you in Secret C is going to help it stand out from everything else that we have going on. Okay, I like where this is going. Oh, I like that a lot. I also feel like I would like to see some Stella action, but Stella is just betraying us today. Okay. I also want ribbon and embellishments, and that's another place that I'm going to struggle a little bit because I need to go find some. You can fussy cut a thank you. Oh, what a great idea. Ooh, not that this is a joy card, but it'd be cool to have a die cut word above it, which, so it wouldn't be the joy from this set, it would be any number of die cut words in other sets, but that could very well be another option. So bear with me for a minute as I go to get some embellishing features. I will be right back. I think I'm actually going to do something that I don't typically do. I'm going to start gluing things down. Oh no! But I'm going to leave you with a cliffhanger. Not because I want to, but because I want to do this right. And what that means to me is I do not have any current ribbons or embellishments down here. At least not ones that are going to work with what I need to accomplish. And I know there's some amazing Secret C and some amazing, let's finish that thought. There are some amazing Secret C embellishments and ribbon options, but I don't have them readily accessible. So I'm going to get you so far, but not quite over the finish line. And then you can tune back. We will show it off. Where's my paper scissor? And I do believe this is going to be at least an adaptation of one of the cards available in the class. Okay, well, we will use the glue scissor. So don't worry, you will not never see the finished version of this card. But I don't want to finish it with just anything just to finish it. I want to finish it well. I do feel comfortable gluing all of these parts down because I can talk you through how I'm going to finish this. It is going to be Secrecy ribbon woven. I mean, to some degree it's going to go through there, but also woven in, around, and by this tag. And then there are a couple of different Secrecy options that I could use for embellishments. One of them has glittery elements in it. I don't think that's going to be the one that I use because I feel like this has a very classy look to it, and the glitter might not go well with that. It might. Again, seeing it will make all the difference. But yeah, then we'll put some embellishments. Okay, so I think I liked having the shaded spruce beneath, and this is going to go down here somewhere. So then we'll have some embellishment here, here, and there, some ribbon there and there. And what do you guys think? Do you like it? Because I am very much loving it. Let's get some distraction out of the way, and then we'll go like this. I zoomed in maybe just a smidge too far. But what do you think? Do you like it? I mean, yes, ignore the poorly stamped changing of mind type of tag. Part of me was thinking I wanted this up on dimensionals as well, but whoopsies. That is a-okay. All right, any thoughts, feelings, or ideas that you would like to share for what you would like to see to finish up this card? Would love to take them into consideration, but I think we are 90, if not 95% of the way there. So, to finish it off, I don't like leaving you with a cliffhanger, but I want to do it well. So let's, okay, that can stay there. I love this color scheme. For someone who's not a fan of green, this is good. This is good stuff. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciated you tuning in and spending some time with me on this crafty morning. I hope you enjoyed not only the class, but also the alternative, even if it is not quite all the way there. I look forward to coming back to you with a finished card and some more information about, you're a blue person. Okay, me too. I'll come back to that in a second. More information about how you can participate in the Paper Pumpkin class that we will be offering. Yes, blue. I have always loved blue, and I've really rotated between colors here and there throughout my life. I really say that my favorite color is rainbow because I do love just rainbows and like what the color gradation of a rainbow does. But if I had to, it would definitely be blue because there are so many beautiful blue colors. I also really, 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 really love yellow and pink. And that's why I love rainbow, because I cannot commit to just one. So anyways, stay tuned. We will wrap this up and get back to you with some more information about it. But thank you. We appreciate you. We love you. And we are going to wrap this up with sunshine, love, and big hugs heading your way, especially this holiday season. If I don't see you before, which I likely won't, Merry Christmas. Enjoy the extra time if you have any time off. Enjoy the time that you get to spend with your family, your friends, your kids, your loved ones, your crafting community, anyone that you are able to share this holiday season with. Enjoy it. It comes and goes oh so quickly. So, again, sunshine, love, and big hugs your way.